Thanks for coming to dinner with me tonight on such short notice. I just had to talk to you about something. Look, we've been dating for around a year now, and I think we should just start seeing other people. Just let me finish. Don't do that. Just let me finish. You always try to cut me off when I'm talking. Just let me finish what I'm saying. I'm not saying I want to break up. I'm just saying I want to see what else there is out there, you know. It's not just me. All of the YouTubers are doing it. It's the in thing nowadays. You got to get with the times. You're just too big for me sometimes. I'm not saying you're fat. No, don't start. I'm not saying you're fat. I'm just saying that sometimes I want to be more adventurous and you're not cut out for it, okay? I'm not saying that I just want you to be at home all the time and wait for me when in times of emergency, when things get bad. I'm not saying that. Who was there? Let me finish. Who was there when your ex-boyfriend threw you under the bus? Who was there to help you pick up the pieces? It was me. I'm telling you, you're always gonna be my rock, but there's just stuff I gotta get out of my system. Can I at least introduce you to her? Like I said, she's not a replacement for you. But, you know, hey, maybe if you're feeling adventurous sometime, we can even do a little three-way, something like that. Reinvigorate this relationship. Come on, what do you say? Everybody's doing it, as long as you know that she's just a fling, and at the end of the night, I'm coming home to you like I always do. Great, she's here. Jackie, I'm so glad you can make it. Meet Apex. All right, babe, we're gonna take off. Don't worry, I love you. I'll be back later on. Yes, I'll tell them about the coupon code. I'll tell them about you. Why do you always have to remind me about that? I'll tell them about the damn coupon code. Go through the link in the description, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, she's got a coupon code too, and it's for 20% off. Yeah, yes, I don't know her as well as I know you yet, but 20% off. She's a cheap date. For the price of you, I can get 3 of her. You don't have to remind me of the fact that you can charge almost 10 times faster than she can. I get that. I know you're twice the capacity. I know you have a higher output wattage. Sometimes I just need to run wild, and I can't run wild with you, babe. You're just too damn fat. I mean, look, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. Look, I gotta go. Now, one of the benefits of being a YouTuber is that sometimes they send you stuff like this for review. No strings attached, of course. Unfortunately, my bank won't accept this as supplemental payment for my mortgage. So if you could please support the channel by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, that would be excellent. So in terms of the product packaging, top notch. Looks really nice. Looks like it has a nice housing too, so we'll check that out. Nice graphics. You know, really sturdy box. Doesn't always indicate a good product, but more often than not, it means that they did something right. We got some adapters. It's like a solar adapter. Some instructions, stickers. We don't need any of that. This one's a lot heavier. I believe this is around 12 pounds. This is 25 pounds. It looks a lot nicer than the industrial look of the Apex, although the housing on this is gonna be a lot tougher because it's metal. I know Will Proust did a video on it and he says it's pretty good. You know, we all know sometimes people change their minds about things, right? Years later. So you get an adapter in this little pouch. This is going to be your solar. So this means that I'm going to be able to use my power film solar panel to charge this up. So that's actually pretty sweet. So it's pretty simple. You don't need any special adapters. I'm not really impressed with that light. I'm looking at it and it looks like I guess it might be an LED. For a second there, I thought it was an incandescent. That would really be stupid. I'll just talk a bit about what this is more suited for. It's definitely no replacement for the Apex, in my opinion. It doesn't compare really at all. This is just a far more heavy-duty industrial unit. In my opinion, it's more of a family camping type unit, something you would use over the weekend, maybe a 3-day preparedness item, but it's certainly not a tiny home, you know, or off-grid or a motorhome portable power system. So as you can see here, I have 3 units. I have the Energy Apex, which is 1.1 kilowatt hours, 1500 watt output, 550 watts continuous is the recommended,
but you can do continuous to varying degrees up to 1500 watts, although you wouldn't really want to sustain that for a long time, because that not only is that going to wear out your battery, the higher output wattages that you're using on a continuous basis, but it's just going to drain the battery really quickly, and you're not going to be able to charge it fast enough to replenish it. For anything in this class, you're really looking at powering small appliances for short periods of time. But this has really rapid charging, so you're able to sustain the actual charge. There are some that are able to sustain that continuous high output wattage longer, but they don't charge as fast. So, you know, you can't sustain that for long periods of time. Now, next is the Charge Tech. This, I believe, is a 55 amp hour battery pack. This probably should be like this, from biggest, medium to smallest. I would say that this is a great laptop battery. This has a maximum output of 240 watts. So, you know, it's good for laptops, maybe a television set or something like that, running a small computer. Like I said, this is more for the weekend warriors. It's really user-friendly in the sense that, you know, it has the nice sleek packaging. It doesn't have this boxy industrial look. So you know this was made in a Chinese factory somewhere. But the price point is pretty good. Now, I'm not sure who they consulted with when making the price on Amazon.ca, that's in Canada, but the price point is $666.66. So clearly they're not trying to target the fundamentalist Christian audience, but who knows? Maybe this is all about the mark of the beast right here. We'll just call it the beast. How about we call it the beast? I'm not sure what that equates to in American dollars. I think it's probably, you know, $400 to $500. So it's a good price point for something like this. There's 500 watt hours of power in here. Like I said, 500 watts continuous output, but very slow charge times. Right now I have a 120 watt panel on here, and I believe it's 15 volts at 3.5 amps of DC current. So at that rate, it's gonna take, you know, 12 to 15 hours to charge. So ideally for something like this, the max input charge you're gonna get is around 65 watts. So having a solar panel this size is probably a little excessive. So this solar panel is perfect for the Energy Apex. The Jackery also has its own solar panel, which I'll show you in a minute here. But it is fairly plug and play. It has one input with a male adapter, and basically you plug that into your solar panel. It's plug and play. There's also an AC cord that they provide you. You can charge that. It's going to charge in 7 to 8 hours, so it's a little bit faster. Still a little slow in my opinion, considering that the Energy Apex charges at 500 watts. So this thing can charge in 3 hours, and it's twice the capacity as this, but this takes much longer. So as you can see here, I have the 100 watt panel connected to the Jackery. The problem is that it only charges between 46 to 66 watts max, and it charges at 66 watts right when you plug it in. If I was to unplug it, plug it in, it'll go all the way up to 66 watts in full sunlight, kind of similar to what it did with the power film panel. If we obstruct part of the panel, it immediately goes down to 46, and it doesn't go back up to 66. So I'm not sure why that is. It's going to stay at 45 now. That means that there's a lot of redundancy in the panel wattage here. You're only really using 50 watts of the 100 watt panel because that's all the input it can handle. So I understand the redundancy of it though. This means that you're going to be maxing out your charge input via solar whenever you do charge it with this 100 watt panel, because, you know, just because you have a 100 watt panel doesn't mean you're always pulling 100 watts. And if they were to provide you with a 50 watt panel, that would mean that you probably only would be pulling between 35 and 40, you know, in optimal conditions. Now the panel is lightweight. This is really as plug and play as you're going to get in terms of these sort of power systems. So in spite of the fact that it's, you know, a low output, 500 watts, and in spite of the fact that it's a slower charge time, it still is plug and play the easiest device that you're going to have on the market. This is really, like I say, geared more towards the 3-day prepper, and certainly more towards recreational users, families, small groups who don't want to be bothered with all the technical aspects of a system like this, and you simply want to plug and play. All you have to do, unfold the panels, plug it into the device, point them at the sun, and you're charging. So for that reason, I think it has a place in the marketplace. With this, for the price that you pay, it's actually quite reasonable, considering only 5 years ago a system like this would have probably cost you $2,000.
Now, one neat thing about the solar panel is that you don't actually need the Jackery to charge your electronics directly from the solar panel, because it has two USB converters built into it. One is a USB, standard USB port, which is 2.4 amps, and the other one's a USB-C port, which is 3 amps. Now, it shows you the types of devices that it's compatible with, obviously mobile phone, tablets, game players, and of course the Jackery Explorer. It gives you a really bare bones universal graphic here of, you know, when the device is not going to work. Obviously, in no sunlight, total overcast, monocrystalline, forget about it. You're not going to be getting barely any power out of the device. With a power film, you would, however. The panel also comes with a pouch built into it to put all your cords into. And there are some lightweight kickstands on it. I understand why they made them lightweight. Not very sturdy, though, in my opinion. It's likely this could be potentially blown around by a moderate gust of wind. But I understand they're trying to keep it lightweight, so that makes perfect sense. As you can see here, there's also a little housing to protect the cords that connect together when connecting the Jackery to the solar panel. I guess that's in case of rain or something. And it folds up in a clamshell design. It's fairly large when compared to the Jackery, which is why I think the PowerFilm panel still is a better fit for this device. But for the price that you're paying for this panel, it's a good deal. It's going to work. It's going to get the job done.
You only have the one AC output port here, which is perfectly fine. Like I say, for a weekend getaway, you want to charge your laptop. For one person out in the bush, if you're a videographer or something like that, or if you just have a lot of electronics that you use, you know, GPS, lamps, coolers, stuff like that, this is perfect for that. It's well built. Every reviewer that's reviewed it so far on YouTube has nothing but good things to say about it, but you are going to be limited in terms of the things you can power. So for example, it's not able to power this air compressor, which is 15 amps. Now, if we go over to the Energy Apex, it does it no problem. And that's only pulling, I think, like 50 watts or something, but it just doesn't have the amp output that you need. So it's 10 amps combined. You have a DC output, a female, and then you have the two I think these are 6 or 7 millimeter ports. And then of course you have your USB, which are 2.4 amps. So they're not the Qualcomm charging. On the Energy you have the Qualcomm, but 2.4 amps is still fairly reasonable fast charging speeds. It's not like, you know, Qualcomm 3 or 4, anything like that, like charging your cell phone in like 15 minutes or anything crazy, but it's going to put a charge on there. You're not going to be waiting all night. And of course you have your one AC output port. Now this really isn't too much of a big deal either if you wanted to get a power bar or some other kind of splitter like that. But that's what I like about the Apex, is that it has all of those output ports. And some people will say, well, you know, you only have between 550 to 1500 watts that you can use with a 3000 watt momentary peak for those high start devices. But there's a lot of different items like this that, you know, only take 50 watts and you can easily fill up, you know, 6 AC ports, no problem, if you're charging multiple battery packs, if you're running a TV set, if you're powering lights and stuff like that. So you can actually put it all to use. Really, the outputs is more of a convenience thing, because for both of them, there's ways to use it anyways. In terms of the build quality, it's built really solid. Everything is nice and tight. It doesn't feel cheap. It's a nice heavy-duty polycarbonate housing. And, you know, there's vents on the side there, pretty heavy-duty rivets. There's some rubber shoes on the bottom, so get some good traction so you don't have to worry about it sliding all over the place. I definitely prefer the handle on that to this thing on the Energy here. It'd be nice if that was a bit sturdier. Now, if you look at the size of these two units, this is twice the capacity, but they're almost the same size. I mean, the Apex is definitely bigger, but you know, they're pretty comparable in terms of their size. So I think something like this could be significantly smaller, considering that the amount of actual power within it is pretty on par with what's in here. This is 55 milliamp hours. I believe this roughly works out to around the same. So, you know, but I mean, obviously this has a lot more features and options and a pure sine wave inverter and all of that stuff. So I also like the fact that it tells you how much watts that you're taking in and how much watts you're outputting, so that's very convenient. Now this has a lithium ion battery. It's rated for 500 plus charge cycles as opposed to the Energy Apex, which is 2000 plus charge cycles to 80% of its capacity. Operating temperature is similar, -10 to 40 degrees Celsius. Anything over that, it's going to be potentially too hot. So in terms of emergency preparedness then, this is going to power your flashlights. It's going to power a small cooler. It's going to power your radios, your cell phones, your laptops, small scale electronics, maybe provide you with some entertainment. So in that regard, for short-term emergencies, I think it's a good thing to have around the house. I think it's far more user-friendly than many other things on the market. It's no replacement for the Apex, but you know, I think it's a good deal.
So as you can see here, I did a load test. I was able to get 450 watts continuous for around an hour, which makes sense. This is a 518 watt-hour battery. Not quite what I expected. I did notice that in the final 1% of the battery, the time in which it was on that final 1% was like 2 or 3 minutes. And up until that point, it was going down a percentage point like every 30 seconds. So what that tells me then is that it's not properly reading the battery yet. I'm sure the more times that it gets discharged and then recharged, it's going to get better calibrated and it's going to read the battery a bit better. One thing I'm a little concerned about though is the deep discharging of these batteries. The Energy Apex has a safety feature on it which prevents it from discharging below 10%. This is just to prevent damage to the battery. Now, some people don't like that. I personally like that because that's going to increase the longevity of your battery. And in the case with this, when you have 500 recharge cycles to 80% of its capacity, it's important that you're not doing too many deep discharges like that where you're bringing it all the way down to 0. You can see here the voltage is as specified. We have 110 volts coming out of the AC and we have 13.3 volts coming out of the DC, which is rated for 12 volts. So that's pretty good. Now, as you can see here, it says it's rated for 12 to 30 volts at 3.5 amps for 100 watt max input. I was never able to achieve more than 65 watts, and that was only momentary. That was with both the power film panel and the Jackery panel. Now, what this means is that because the solar panel is only 18 volts, the maximum amount of charge that you're ever going to be able to achieve is around 60 watts. So I'm not sure why they didn't provide a 30 volt solar panel. So really with the Jackery solar panel, because it's 18 volts times 3.5 amps, you're only ever going to be able to achieve maybe the 66 watts that we had there in full sunlight. So I'm not sure why exactly they're pairing this solar panel with this particular unit, because it's incapable of maxing out the unit's input charge.
Okay, I just want to show you guys something. This is the PowerFilm 30 watt foldable solar panel. This is not ideal for this, but this, like I said, is only going to be able to input between 60 and 80 watts anyways, so the 120 watts is a little bit overkill. But if you get the 60 watt foldable PowerFilm panels, which we don't carry at CanadianPreparedness.com, but you can find them other places online. Actually, we might be bringing them in at some point, so you know, if you watch this video several weeks after this video is posted, we may actually have them in stock. So if they are, I'll post a link in the description. But you can see this is like perfectly sized for this Jackery unit. And really, if you can pull 30 watts into something like this continuously for a 12-hour day, you know, that's going to get you pretty close to full capacity. Not quite full capacity. It's going to take a couple days realistically, but it's going to get you close because you're never going to be able to pull 30 watts from a 30 watt panel continuously. You're probably looking at an average of around 20 watts in good sunlight. So, but still, you know, that's going to put a significant charge, 500 watt hours. It's going to take about 20 hours to charge with something like this. So if you're not going to be exhausting the battery every day, or depleting it, I should say, then you definitely could get away with a foldable solar panel like this. Now these are pretty expensive. They're probably going to cost you between $200 to $300 just for the panel, and you can get a 60-watt panel, which is going to be around double that price. So I would say for this, a 60-watt panel is probably ideal, but in terms of the size and the form factor, you know, it's perfect. Stick right in the top there, you can carry it around like that. That's your complete power system right there. So super lightweight. I believe this is probably not even a pound. So the whole thing altogether is around 14 pounds, and very rugged, very durable. Compared to the 120 watt, which is literally 4 times the size, this device is more compatible with this, whereas this is more compatible with something like the Energy Apex. Now I think with something like this, what I would like to see is a place for you to put the cords on the device. Like here, you know, you can wrap the cords. There's a little compartment in there that you can put various accessories. So that might be nice if there was some onboard storage for the cords that you would use. They do give you this little pouch that carries the AC adapter and stuff. Another thing I'd like to see on this is some kind of inductive charging. There's a perfectly good space up here to have wireless charging for a cell phone or something like that. So I think that would be a huge selling point really for the average person. If you could just put your phone on top of there and start charging it. Maybe getting at least one more AC output. I think one isn't enough. I mean, I understand you could use splitters and all that, but you know, and it's really easy user interface. This is kind of like, you know, for people who are not maybe getting up there in years, not too familiar with technology, and just want something which is bare bones, basic, has all sorts of safety features to make sure it doesn't overheat and stuff like that. That's what this is for. So, you know, but it would be nice if there was an extra AC port, maybe some inductive charging, some place for onboard cord storage. And obviously you always want more power potentially, but I'm sure in the future they'll put out a unit that is more capable in that regard also. But the price point is good at $666.66 Canadian. Not sure what the American price is. Check it out in the link below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Canadian Prepper out.
The best way to support this YouTube channel is to support yourself by gearing up through CanadianPreparedness.com or BugoutRoll.ca. Premium quality gear at the best possible price using the incredibly secure and easy to use Shopify platform. We offer free shipping to the United States for orders over $200 USD and free shipping to Canada over $75. So support the channel by supporting yourself.